Hello, everyone, and welcome to Old World Tech Fridays, episode 24.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you are all doing fantastic this fine October evening in 2023.
Uh, Frida is missing in action. Most likely she
She's
fell asleep.
MIA.
Ryan and I are starting without her. Ryan, do you want to see who's in the chat? Who's with us today?
Let's see who we got this evening. Well, first off, out of the gate, we have Scarlet, the Four-Eyed Cuda. Then some fella called Everything's Broken Garage. Don't know who he is. Martin Mack, all the way from Jolly, England. Then we have Garth Beagle. I think I know him from somewhere. Then we have Gut Bomb. Jesus Christ is apparently here. JC has returned. Um, as well as K-Mac Vintage. Hey, Will. Hope you're having a fantastic evening. And I think that, oh, and Eric. Eric stopped in from Eric's Head, so that's awesome. Curtis Boyle's here as well. And I think I got everybody. I think that's everybody. So thanks for joining us this evening, you fine folks.
Curtis, I don't use the microphone on the headset. I just use the headset for listening. I have a ginormous microphone here on the desk.
So we know you have a choice in Friday night vintage retro video news outlets. So we appreciate you spending your time with us. So
Absolutely.
thank you.
Absolutely. So, let's start off with a little bit of this day in tech history. Starting with, I guess, this Sunday, which would have been the 15th. Here we go. October 15th, 1878, the Edison Electric Light Company is formed. Thomas Edison and a group of investors from the Edison Electric Light Company. The goal of the company was to provide financial support for Edison's electric light experiments and work on developing an electrical lighting system for an entire city.
Cool. And
Uh,
to steal patents and ideas from Nikola Tesla.
indeed, indeed. Okay, so let's see. October 16th, 1959, CDC 1604 released. The Control Data Corporation, CDC, releases their CDC 1604 computer, the world's fastest computer at the time and first commercially successful, fully transistorized computer.
Ooh, the
The
future.
1604 was the CDC's first computer, primarily designed by engineer Seymour Cray, who would later go on to found Cray Research and be called the father of the supercomputer. So that's interesting.
Awesome. Very cool.
Last week we talked about the first, what was it? The first wire outdoor telegraph
Right.
communication.
Yep.
This week, October 17th, 1907, the first transatlantic wireless telegraph service. Guillermo Marconi officially
Marconi.
opens the first commercial transatlantic wireless telegraph service, which runs between Nova Scotia and Ireland.
And where do you think he actually tested that first? So back in 1902, where do you think he actually tested his product?
I'm not sure. So this was
Here.
1904.
Yeah,
So he
he
tested
tested it
prior to
here.
that there.
Yeah,
Oh, that's
yeah.
pretty
He actually
interesting.
tested it at what is a sort of a castle we have on the hill called Cabot Tower, and that's where he actually tested the first. He got the first Morse code, we'll call it transatlantic signal
That's
from
really neat.
England. Yeah, there's a fantastic Canadian heritage moment which you can look up on YouTube and watch. It's very campy, but
That's pretty cool.
yeah, yeah.
Oh, here's an interesting one. Another October 17th. This time in 1990, IMDb is launched.
Hmm.
Colin Needham, an English movie fan, releases the rec.arts.movies movie database, which would later be known as the IMDb. An engineer working for HP at the time, by 1996, Needham had quit his job to work on IMDb full time. The IMDb is one of the most visited sites on the internet and was acquired by Amazon in 1998. Needham is still the general manager of IMDb to this day.
Cool.
That's an interesting tidbit.
That's awesome.
October 17th, 1958, the world's first video game. William Higginbotham and Robert Dorvac Sr. show off a tennis simulator game they called Tennis for Two, developed on a Donner Model 30 analog computer using an oscilloscope. It is the first known electronic game to use a graphical display. Higginbotham and Dorvac developed this game to show off to visitors to the Brookhaven National Laboratory where they had worked. The game was only shown off twice during the laboratory's annual Visitors' Day. While hundreds of visitors lined up to play the game when it was made available, little was known about the game for decades. While somewhat similar in gameplay to the later hit Pong, there is no known direct relationship between the two games.
Cool.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to. Some people in the chat are just talking. Just wanted to jump in and say hi to Retro Techie, who's joining us. Also, some people are asking what's on my television. It is, and I actually apologize. I actually think there might be some nudity in it, so if there is, I do apologize. It's 1986 Return of the Living Dead, so it was sort of one of the first spoof, if you want to call it, zombie movies, where the zombies end up calling ambulances to bring more brains. That's one of the famous scenes in the movie. But anyway, I digress.
So another October 18th, this time in 1985, the NES hits North America. Nintendo releases the NES, or the Nintendo Entertainment System, in New York and limited other North American markets. And it was an immediate hit. Nintendo released the game nationwide in February 1986, along with the NES. Nintendo released 18 games that day, including 10-Yard Fight,
Can you imagine
baseball.
Can you imagine today if there was 18 release titles for a game console?
Oh, I know, my gosh. But I'm just curious because the average price is about $70 or so for a game release now. Like, what do you think they sold each one of these for in 1986? 18 different games. That's crazy.
I was going to say they're probably at least $40 or $50. Video games haven't gotten that much more expensive.
So the games that day included 10-Yard Fight, Baseball, Clue Land, Donkey Kong Jr., Math. That's all one thing. Donkey Kong Jr. Math.
Right.
Duck Hunt, Excite Bike, Golf, Gyromite, Hogan's Alley, Ice Climber, Kung Fu, Arch Rider, Pinball, Stack Up, Tennis, Wild Gunman, Wrecking Crew, and Super Mario Brothers.
So, like Gutbaum pointed out, is that it was released here then, but Famicom had released a couple of years earlier in Japan, so they had a bit of a repertoire that they could release on this opening day here in North America.
That is a staggering number in one time. That is crazy.
The only thing they would have had to do is they would have had to translate those games, though, because they wouldn't obviously have been Japanese titles. So there was still a fair bit of work for somebody to go and translate them all from Japanese to English. So kudos to whoever did that.
Yeah, exactly. October 19th, 1979, according to Dan Bricklin, the first real release of VisiCalc was completed and packaged for shipment. VisiCalc was the first commercially available spreadsheet software. It quickly became the first killer app of the personal computer market.
Yeah, I have VisiCalc for I think it's for my Osborne. It came with my Osborne. So
I have VisiCalc for the Apple III.
I'm pretty sure it's a CP/M version of VisiCalc.
Then the last one I have, October 20th, 1906, Dr. Lee DeForest announces his 3-element electrical vacuum tube, later known as the triode. The triode was able to produce a large voltage amplifying effect, which when used to amplify weak signals will make long-distance communication possible for the first time.
Wow.
So it's no different than putting in, let's say, like a repeater for a radio, or adding a switch to get your distance further than 300 meters.
Yeah.
So that's
or you can just use fiber. Be done with it.
That's true. a lot longer distance, especially single mode.
I think it's 900 meters, isn't it, for single strand?
No.
Or is it 1 kilometer? I don't know. All I know is that I've run a little bit of fiber and I have a lot more to run. I have a couple of clients that have quite large buildings, one of them being a cathedral, and we're going to end up being running a fair bit of fiber in the
There you go.
cathedral.
Single mode fiber can go as far as 40 kilometers or more without hurting the
40?
signal. Yep.
Wow,
Yep. And one stretch with only without having to be re-amplified.
that's pretty
40
impressive.
kilometers. Yeah. It's a long distance.
Nice, nice.
Well, you figure all the undersea cables and things like that are transatlantic. I mean, that's a heck of a distance. I mean, some of them do actually have power repeaters. But
Oh yeah, for
still,
sure.
that's interesting.
Yeah. Yep.
So that's this day in tech history.
Awesome.
Other than the fact that Trina fell asleep on us apparently.
Apparently, but that's okay. We'll muddle on.
October 20th, 2023.
What about it?
Which Mario game is Frank's favorite? Honestly, I like the the Super Mario World, the one with Yoshi, where you.
The SNES.
I played it on the SNES. Yeah, I was gonna say. I like that one a lot. That's to be probably my favorite Mario. Now I've played a lot, even newer ones like on the Switch. The Mario Odyssey. I've played Luigi's Mansion. Several different ones, but Super Mario World's definitely my favorite. I think by far.
Yeah, Retro Taggy says
Odyssey's a good one. Honestly, I feel like that's the first Super Mario Odyssey. I think was the first time I had bought a guidebook since original World of Warcraft. I bought the hardback book for the Mario Odyssey, the game guide. Oh yeah, Wii U version. I played Mario on the Wii U. What was the one Super Mario Galaxy? I think that's the one I'm thinking of. I played on the Wii U.
So for me, is the original because I remember that as a child. But then Mario 64.
That was a good one
Probably
too. Now,
the only Mario that I played. That was the only two I've ever played.
honestly, I think if I had to say overall game, so the 64 I played a ton. Like that's probably the one gaming platform growing up that I played more than anything else. And the one cartridge I think I played more than anything else on the N64 was 007 GoldenEye.
Oh, of course.
I think it was literally the most played game I ever played on that.
So, like growing up, every Friday night, my parents would get together with some of the other parents around our street, and they'd all go to one of the down this road to one of the girls that lived on the street, a friend of mine, Megan, and she had an N64, and we would order pizza, and we would play GoldenEye for hours. We'd watch TGIF, then TGIF on. And eat pizza and play GoldenEye and Mario 64.
So I think TGIF at the time they did like Step by Step and
Boy Meets World.
Yep.
Step
Boy
by
Meets
Step.
World, the dinosaurs.
Family Matters.
Yep. Family Matters. That was a good one.
Home Improvement, I think, was on there at that point.
Yes.
Or it was I can't remember. It moved to there. Anyway, it was. Hey, Joe's here. Hello, Joe. But yeah, I remember that. That's like quintessential like '90s childhood right there.
But yeah, my brother was a year younger than me, so him and I would play on split screen. On
that was the best. Stop looking at my side of the screen.
Yeah,
Stop cheating.
Exactly. So yeah, we played that quite a bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, that had been the most played 64. I would say.
Agreed.
But yeah, we had the original Nintendo prior to that. We played the original Mario. We played Duck Hunt a ton.
My family bought a NES when they first came out. I wasn't even born yet. My parents had already purchased it. So I grew up. I literally remember growing up with an NES. And that we had a big floor model TV like the one that sat here next to me. And I would go downstairs. We had shag carpet in the basement. It was like orange and brown and with specks of white shag carpet in the basement. Big console television, and you could only get channel 3 and channel 5, whatever. That was the only cable that was, I would say
That was pretty
cable, but
much
it was
us. Yeah.
over the air TV that was available down there, or you played the NES, and that was it. That was all that TV was used for.
I remember in fifth and sixth grade going over to a friend of mine's house, and they had an Atari 2600.
Yeah.
And that's the first time in my life that I had learned that leaning with it doesn't help you any. Like playing the racing games and you're leaning while you're doing it, because your body just like naturally just does that.
Or I would always press the buttons harder to try to shoot harder.
To jump higher or whatever.
Jump, damn it, jump.
But yeah, I remember his dad laughing and saying, "Hey, leaning with it doesn't help you any."
Which is funny because 20 years later, the Wii comes out and it actually does.
Exactly. Yeah.
Or VR. But yeah, so it's going to be pretty easy night here because I had a fairly busy week. I know Frank had a fairly busy week.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm prepping for a show for tomorrow. We have a somewhat of it. It's not really an impromptu, but it's a sort of, we were requested by the local library here in St. John's to present a retro extravaganza. So basically, the Retro Newfoundland and Labrador group is putting together an exposition, I guess, on retro tech, and we're providing some computers tomorrow, and we're going to do some soldering demos, and we're going to do some, vintage video games. So it should be a good bit of fun. And I was actually interviewed this past Thursday, so yesterday, by the local branch of the state media, CBC, and yeah, it was good. I'll put a link to my interview. I thought it went really well. We had a lot of fun. Um, talking about the hobby and how I got into it. And so that kind of brings me to sort of a topic of discussion I want to throw out to the chat and through anybody watching. And if you're watching this after the fact, feel free to fire it down in the comments section. But if you're watching this now,
I can put a poll in now if you need me to.
Oh, perfect.
I finally figured that out. I was logged in as Fertojet.
What about a Swiss? Can you put a Swiss in? Or someone from Portugal? You can only do a poll.
Only a poll. I don't know who engineered this thing or wrote it that way.
Right? Anyway, so yeah, I just want to put it out there. We're talking about getting into the hobby, trying to prevent gatekeeping, which tends to happen a lot in hobbies. As some of you may or may not know by my name of my channel, I'm also into cars, and the car hobby is sort of one of those hobbies that is sort of the what would we call it? A touchstone, maybe is the right term. Like everything that happens in the car hobby can kind of really be applied to every other type of hobby, and it's a great way to look at how not to do things in hobbies. So there's a lot of gatekeeping that happens in the car hobby. A lot of times, older people don't want younger people to get into the hobby. Don't want to be part of the groups. They view them as those young kids, get off my lawn. Old man shakes fist at cloud type people. And I'd hate to see our hobby end up like that. So other than spreading the word through discussion, what are some ways that you guys maybe out there have done to sort of evangelize the hobby, promote it, try to keep it so that young people get interested in it? Looking at Ryan's office there. I'm living in myself.
That's funny.
Jesus Christ, good job. So I'm always impressed when I can make the Lord and Savior, crack a joke. But yeah, so we were discussing in my interview sort of.
Hang on.
JC, where did you find an old? Well, you are the son of God.
JC's got connections.
He's got connections.
He's got connections. A lot of people are going to be jealous.
Yeah. You're going to start a war in the
Commodore phone.
Especially if it's one that I should have seen for somebody else. Because JC is here in Newfoundland, I'm pretty sure. So that's pretty funny. But yeah, so for example, Gutbomb, okay, he makes the machines available to children so they can try old games. Now they want retro machines of their own.
Liam's been playing the A500 Mini. On his
Oh yeah,
hobby. Yeah.
awesome. And so, I like to use it in my class when we teach computer science. One of the things the computer science course here in Newfoundland does is it talks about sort of the history. There's a whole section on the history of technology, and they give some guidance, like they say, oh, use an emulator or use using pictures,
It's an
to
epidemic.
show. Oh, I picked up a Commodore phone as well. What is this? COVID?
That's what I said. Where are these all coming from?
Where are they coming from? There's
Apparently
none, and then everybody has one.
All the original collectors are dying. So
Yeah,
they're slowly trickling into the market.
that's funny.
But
Okay, so
that's how it goes when you buy a car. You buy a car and you don't see any
Hmm.
near you, and as soon as you own
And
it,
then
you see a million.
they're everywhere. Yeah.
Yeah,
JC had a friend in Ontario get it, so that's cool.
that
I
is
don't
pretty
feel so
awesome.
bad. I don't feel so bad because it was my job to
Yeah.
go find them here in Newfoundland. Um, Got bomb. Somebody made a
Oh, there you
Commodore
go.
Decal and flooding the
I
market with
wouldn't be
Commodore phones.
surprised. That's a good way to make some money.
You mean, if I didn't have any
Now,
scruples,
wasn't it? Was it Allied Telesis that did the phone, or
Northern Telecom.
Northern Telecom? That's what it was.
Yeah, yeah.
So I was gonna
So
say,
they're
you knew pretty quick if it was the wrong model phone.
type of phone, yeah. Now that being said, it was just a generic Northern Telecom phone. So if you could find the
Oh yeah,
off white, slightly beige Northern
sure.
Telecom phone and
Get
silk
yourself
screen,
a silk screen. Yeah,
silk screen on the Commodore logo, you probably would,
make $1 million.
yeah,
You
confuse a
just
few people at
sell them
least.
slowly, only a couple
Yeah,
a year.
yeah, the long game, as they say.
Yeah.
But going back to the topic, so like in my class, I like to show the kids the technology. I bring it with me. I usually have the computer set up in my lab so that they can use them whenever they want. We always have Prince of Persia or the Oregon Trail or something running for people to jump on and have a quick round at, which is great because it piques their interest for sure. But one of the reasons that I did my interview was because I do like to be evangelical about the hobby and try to promote it and get it out there because a lot of people like Retro Techie made the joke earlier. He tells people that retro computers are garbage and then takes them for himself, and a lot of people view them as garbage, right? Like
That's
I've
true.
had parents come into my room and be like, "Why do you have old computers?" And until you explain it to them, they go, "Oh, that makes total sense." Like it's history. And history is cool. Like people collect lots of stuff from World War II. People collect lots of stuff from, like I said, old cars. This is just another hobby. But again, gatekeeping tends to be one of the nasty parts of any hobby, and trying to curb
Yeah.
that and work towards a more open and inviting hobby is the only way to sustain this, right? Like I I often use the like 1930s cars as an example. So 1930s cars used to be really, really collectible, and now they're not. And I think it's because people that collected them were very passionate about them and didn't like young people getting involved in the collecting of them. Now those people are dead or dying or old, and the young people just don't flock to them like they do the 1950s,
Yeah.
60s, and 70s cars. So I don't want to see that happen to our hobby. So I'm always open to ideas for different events and things like that. So like I said, we host a couple of retro computer events here in Newfoundland. So I just recommend it if you don't have something in your area, do it yourself. Like I started the Retro Tech Newfoundland group. Our province is about 600,000 people in it, and it's a gigantic land mass. So
Mhm.
we're pretty spread out. Um, and we have 470 people in the group now. So I just started it, just see where it went. Can you explain to my leash holder that this is a hobby and I'm collecting old computers, not just one old sheet? I mean, some people are going to view it like that. No matter what you say, it's still going to be garbage, right? I had this
So
conversation today at work. People with one of my coworkers, they don't understand gaming.
yeah,
They think it's a waste of time, and I'm like, yeah, but if someone's really passionate about it, it's not a waste of time
exactly.
to them, right?
Um, so speaking of collections and stuff, Liam has this new thing over the last few weeks now. When he wants something at the store, he'd be like, "Liam, you already have like 10 of those." Yeah, but I'm starting a collection.
Yeah,
That's
well,
his
it's good.
new thing now.
It's
That's
like
what
I'm
he's
starting a
saying.
collection.
starting a collection of them.
But you see, that's because he knows Dad gets away with it
I
by
know,
saying
I
that.
know, I
So
know.
he's like, well, I'm just going to follow in my father's
I
footsteps.
just think it's hilarious that's his excuse now. Well, I'm starting a collection of them.
Just collecting.
That's his excuse now. Yes, Retrotech. I
Uh,
am too passionate about craft dinner. I
correct.
do like to eat.
JC says, my 12-year-old daughter was fascinated by seeing an old computer in the house, and even more fascinated when she saw the computer manual. I found that surprising.
You
Yeah, I
know,
mean, kids like stuff. Like,
yes, absolutely. Very inquisitive.
yeah. And I think, when it comes to history, uh, reading it in a textbook is one thing, but living it and experiencing it is a totally different thing.
Well,
Like,
well, to
I'm,
expand upon that, a lot of people don't pick up things or learn things by just reading about them. You have a lot more
exactly.
people that pick up and grasp things way easier by seeing it in person, showing them once how to do it and let them do it themselves. That's how
Yeah,
we get
exactly.
doctors.
Yeah,
They just look at it once and then they're like, okay, I got that.
I can do that.
And then they
Cut
let them
along the
do it.
dotted line. Yeah,
That's right. Not this leg.
yeah, the other leg.
Yeah.
2-for-1 deal. But yeah, so I just want to, kind of suggest to people out there that may be watching that, be the change in your community, especially if you don't have an active retro community, make one. Um, you did. I learned by watching you. Yeah, 100%. I remember that PSA.
I learned most of what I know about life by watching Degrassi
Well, you're
from
welcome.
CBC.
It's Canada.
It is.
But
That
yeah,
Stargate,
so
which is also Canadian.
sure. Well, it was filmed in Canada, I know. So I just put my interview in the chat there. If anybody wants to go watch it afterwards, feel free.
Awesome.
Um, I will preface that yes, we know the 3D printer was broken in the video. I know that, but I couldn't stop to actually change it um, during the middle of the interview because that would have been very awkward. So yes, we were aware the 3D printer was not functioning properly in the video. But yeah, so that kind of brings me along to the next section of my little rant for this evening is how to get into the hobby. So myself and Frank, before we went live, we were having a chat about, if I had to start fresh today and I didn't have any of this junk behind me. Hey, it's Sean. It's Sean 2.0. Um, if I didn't have this stuff behind me, where would I start? What's the best? Oh, Sean, didn't he see the Commodore phone comments earlier?
No, he didn't. We had two of the people in the chat that had recently come into Commodore rotary phones.
Yes. So I apologize. The number is limiting or becoming more limited
Yes.
as time passes.
Yes. Super duper limited edition now. But yes, what model would you recommend people start with if should they get into it?
Yeah, so myself and Frank were kind of passing around the idea. So if you wanted to get into a classic Macintosh, I think after working on them, the LCs are a pretty cheap and easy sort of entry point for anybody if they want to get beyond using just the emulator on the web. Um, those Macintosh, compact Macs, with the screens built in, they're getting a little pricey. Um, so they can be they can price a lot of people out of the hobby. The nice thing about the LC is you can focus it or you can attach it to a modern VGA monitor. So that's a benefit, and it's small, so it's easy to store. Frank, I don't know if you think anything different or you have any
I don't think anything
thoughts.
at all. That's the best course of action. I'm just kidding. But no, I honestly think that if somebody is going to get into, Macs of any vintage, honestly, just from a lot of standpoints, but space saving is one of the biggest ones. The LCs are super small. They don't take up a lot of space, so you can tuck them, on the side of the desk or under the desk or whatever if you're not using it. As you had mentioned, they're great machines that you can hook a regular LCD up to. They're not as finicky as far as resolutions and refresh rate and stuff like a lot of the classic Macs are, or the Mac 2s, for example. So it'd definitely be easier for somebody to get into something. They're pretty readily available. They're cheap online. They're easy to work with. There's a lot less stuff in them. to go wrong. You don't have it like like a Quadra or what Steve's been working on that 840 AV for as long as I can remember.
Yeah, yeah,
So don't pigeonhole yourself and buy something that is one of the worst things to try and work on or fix or
yeah,
find parts. Uh, Pretty much everybody, I would say, probably all of us that collect Apples or Macs will have at least one LC.
yeah,
They're great machines. They have a lot of flexibility. There's a lot of different operating systems you could run on them. So if you wanted to go further back, you could. There's a lot of great games that are super compatible with the LCs. I had them
yeah.
when we were in sixth grade. They started getting LCs. In elementary school. So they're great machines.
Gut bomb. Just start out with an SE30 reloaded board that you build yourself. I assume what he means. It'll be
Yeah,
great. Wait,
yeah.
wait. Was that gatekeeping?
That's not quite as easy as the old electronics kits with the springs that they sold at Radio Shack
Yeah.
to start out with. Oh
But
my god.
that's what I was saying. We jumped on eBay and had a quick look. The cheapest compact Mac, SE30 or SE or whatever, I could find was about $150, and it didn't work. The
Yeah.
LCs you can find them on eBay for about $35 to $60, and they'll
Uh-huh.
work. Usually the sound is broken because obviously we all know that the caps leak around the sound area.
Yep.
Um, but yeah, it's a great place to start. You can probably buy two or three of them, and between the two or three of them, you have one functioning one.
Yeah.
Um, and they're fairly easy to work on. They're easy to take the board out. It's very basic, which I like.
But
So
what
I think,
with what I was going to say
sorry,
with the LCs too is it's not just region specific. So like some of the classic Macs and things like that are harder to find in other areas of the world. I
right?
get that, but like LCs, like we were talking about, I mean, you can easily get them for £100 or so. UK, less than $100 or so here in the US.
Yep,
There was just tons available. There was lots of them.
yep,
Because obviously LCs for low cost.
yeah,
They used them a ton in
sold them.
education, so
Yeah,
schools had boatloads of them.
yeah. And like Gutbaum pointed out, even power books are a great
Oh yes,
example.
absolutely.
For sure.
That is
The,
great.
the,
The
the
only
only
thing
the only
is,
downside with is the screens, is
yeah,
the finickiness of the, what they call it, vinegaring, when the screen gets
yeah.
all weird and starts to stink.
Or if
Um,
your capacitors die on the screen, those are a pain in the
yeah,
butt to change. You can end up
and
breaking a wire. Some people aren't comfortable opening up their power books. Like myself, I tried to do a screen change on one and I broke a ribbon cable. So I just send all my stuff to Ron,
right,
when it comes to the power books. And then, Ron's a wizard,
yeah.
power books.
You're a
So
wizard, Ron.
exactly, exactly. But yeah,
Uh,
so like Performance, that's true. Performance in the UK. But that's another
so
one.
Scarlett makes a really good point too. Is the LCs also don't weigh 100 pounds,
Oh
so from
yeah,
a
they're
shipping
super light.
perspective, they're a lot
Yep.
easier. And I feel like they survive shipping a little bit more
The
easy.
plastics weren't as brittle, as some of
Yeah.
the other machines. That's for sure.
Of all the LCs I have, I only have one with a single broken clip on the back. All the rest of them are fine.
I was gonna say usually the thing that breaks is the tabs on the back because somebody
Yeah,
wrenches on it and
yeah.
snaps.
Probably why it still has the screw in it. Like, why won't this open? Snap.
Yeah, yeah. So I would say that's probably the most common things I've seen on those is one of the back tabs gets snapped off because
Yeah,
somebody didn't open it right.
yeah.
Emac.
Uh,
That's funny. They're
yeah, yeah. That
also the
my
heaviest,
typical.
probably
I was
by
gonna say
far.
my postal delivery person would not agree with you.
Yeah.
But
But yeah, like Gut Bomb said, LCs are also easy to work with too. No
no
screws.
screws. Yeah.
It's
So I think
super
for
easy.
getting into a classic Mac, that's probably the best place to get it. Now, if you're going to get into, a power PC Mac, then you get into a little bit different. What do you
Sure.
buy? Where do you go? If it's close to you, I like the old iMacs. From
Oh
the
yeah.
different colors, the different the CRT iMacs. I like those. They're not great for shipping. They break really easily, but I've
Yeah.
always had one, and they're fairly easy to work on. For the basic stuff, replace the RAM, replace the hard drive. You can get the more fiddly stuff if you need to, but and then if you're getting into the Intel Macs, if you're looking for something small, Mac Mini first gen Mac Minis
Oh, the
are
super
super tiny,
available. Yep,
right, and really easy to
they're
find.
pretty cheap too.
Uh, so the desk lamp G4 is a great choice, right, Eric?
Yeah,
I mean, as long as it works and you don't take apart the arm, they're perfectly fine.
yeah. If you let that spring go, good luck.
Yeah. So then we've talked a little bit about what sort of the best Mac is. What do you think the best PC is? We've already had a conversation, so we kind of know where this is going. But you know, I'll throw it out there to the audience. What do you guys think is the best PC to start with? You know,
Yeah, if you're wanting to do some
price,
old school gaming and stuff.
old school gaming, bit of DOS, bit of Windows. You know, what do you guys think?
Not all of you guys at once. The one in the trash.
Well, okay. So
um,
for me, myself and Frank had a little chat, sort of like the best personal computer is the Commodore 128. Sloopy, go back to the old age home. We're gonna reverse gatekeep here. Sorry. Okay, I'll preface this. The best DOS compatible or near DOS compatible PC from from the early to late 90s, maybe even into the 2000s.
and
Um,
e-machines. I'm just kidding.
yes, because they never go obsolete. So you're always
You're always a
right.
step ahead.
You're always able to upgrade. They're never obsolete. Um, yeah. So I wish I had a 128, an IBM 286. No, they're too expensive. So myself and Frank were talking about this. So the IBM lines, while they're nice, they're kind of finicky. They're hard to get parts for. They're very expensive. To find a 5150 or 5160, that's functioning with a monitor. You're going to spend at least $400, $500. Um, so then you bump up to some generic 286, but then what's it going to do for you? I have a Tandy 1000. It's all right, but it doesn't play early 90s games very well. It plays side scrollers from the late 80s, some early side scrollers like the Prince of Persia from 1990 runs pretty good, but like Duke 3, or not Duke 3D, Wolfenstein 3D doesn't really run very well. So then you look at a 386, but then you're like, well, I get into a 386, I might as well get into a 486. But then you actually look at the price of a 486, and you have a small heart attack because they have gone through the proverbial roof. Um, so I think the answer in my mind, and feel free to spam me for it, is a 2000, and I know it sounds really early, really late, a 2006 Dell Latitude D620. Now, I'm
Or
going to explain
630.
it. Or 630. I'm going to explain it. Don't jump down my throats yet. They're small in relative respect to a full size desktop. They're competent. They do things well. They have a
Hey, Adam.
discrete video card. Hey, Adam. They have a discrete video card, so usually you can get them with a Rage 128 or Stone Flavor.
Retro techie. That's what I use
That's what I
for
use for. Um, they use you either get a discrete video, you can either get a onboard Intel graphics adapter, which is garbage, but most of the time you can pick them up with a discrete video card, either a Rage 128 or
Mhm.
some form of NVIDIA Quattro. Um, they
That's
usually
great.
have safe.
You could get a 6100 with a DOS card.
Yeah, but you're not playing Battlefield 1940. You're not playing Battlefield 1942 on that and Wolfenstein, right? So anyway, couple more points. They take SATA, so you can get a SATA SSD for them. They will run Windows XP, perfect. They usually top out at 4 gigs of RAM, so that's perfect for Windows XP. They're small, they're compact. You can still buy batteries for them, and they're cheap. And when I say they're cheap, Frank, how cheap are they?
What is that? I found a lot of 5 of them for like 150 shipped. For 5
Yeah,
working. Yeah.
5 working.
So they're not expensive. The batteries are easily available too, so if you did want to go portable, you could.
Yeah.
For a good
So,
battery.
for example, we use D620s at our retro events for our LAN party that we do. So we do a late, we play a bit of Duke, we play a bit of Doom, we play Battlefield
StarCraft.
1942, bit of StarCraft, and it does all of it perfect. They boot up within like 20 seconds, 30 seconds. They don't, they're fairly solid. They don't crash. They can do DOS. They can do, a little bit of, like I said, Windows gaming. Um, they're a perfect little gaming rig or little, retro computer, and they're small. And so, if you're a person who maybe lives in an apartment or doesn't have a spouse that is so understanding, like myself and Frank Star, um, and allows you to have a room in your house called the retro room, which is what I'm currently in, and also you hide stuff in the attic and the garage and at work and the storage unit they don't know about. And anyway, I digress. Yeah, they're a great way to have something and to get into this hobby without spending a lot of money, but being able to do the most with what you have. So
Yeah, without
I
emulating it.
yeah, without having to emulate
Yeah,
things. So
absolutely.
no, Martin Mac, uh, no. I actually it's my wife's and I anniversary in a couple of days. We've
Oh,
been together
happy
20
anniversary to
years. Yes, we've been together 20 years. Well, we've been dating. We're not actually married. We're still just common law. But yeah, we've been together 20 years. We are high school sweethearts.
That's awesome.
If she had murdered me when we first met, she'd been out by now. I tell that to her regularly.
Slippy's got one for sale.
Now, is that your girlfriend or your wife? Or if you're taking man up and buy a ring? Okay, everybody I know. But yeah, so that was all I really wanted to talk about tonight. Nothing major, but just something for everybody to think about. Uh, you know, how do you help promote the hobby in your area, your neck of the woods? How can you better help get more people involved in this fantastic hobby? Because I really do think it provides. I'm going to go on a limb here and say we have one of the best communities, bar none, in any type of hobby, and I think it provides so many extra skills, to be part of this community. You have people that have YouTube channels that are very active, so they're good in front of cameras, they're doing video editing, but those same people are also good at soldering. They're good at, repairing things. They're good at electronic design. They're good at, you know, whatever. They're able to bring different talents to this hobby and help progress it. So, thank you for everybody. Thank you to everybody in the chat who's part of this great
Absolutely.
hobby
Yeah.
and for everything everybody does. And one of the things I love about our group is that if I can't do something, somebody else can,
Absolutely.
and they're often very willing to help and to help you figure something out. So, all right, I'll end seeing that, and improv is done, and I'll pass it over to Frank. Frank, what's going on in the Frank world?
Not a
I
lot is
feel like
going
you
on.
have.
Busy.
I feel like you have something that might interest some Atari fans in our audience.
Oh, that's true too. I think that drive is 8-2. Okay. I just messaged you back about that. Hang on.
That's a good question, Jesus Christ. Where are those C64 PSUs, Frank?
Well, they're still in the box. I got this week. Let's see. It is a 1200 XL.
And have you plugged it in yet?
Yes, it does work.
No, perfect.
Yep.
That's awesome.
And it came with a 1050 drive.
Right. Mine came with with one of the printers, which definitely doesn't work.
Oh yeah, no. I've heard Sylvie talk about the printers a few times. Don't waste your money;
Yeah.
they don't work.
No, they all fail.
Let's see. Hang on. What do you got? 1050 just as coming.
Is that 1200 computer 50% better than an 800? I mean, not by the numbering, but maybe. Ooh. It's very nice.
It says on the bottom, ED/SS. Somebody
Oh,
wrote.
so it's a Nazi. Gotcha.
That's what I was wondering. I didn't know if I should be offended as a Jew or what.
Oh. Retrotech, he says that's a CD-ROM drive, correct?
Of course, yeah.
Yeah. No.
It's on the same. It's on the same thing as like an Amiga CD32. Same
Yeah,
thing.
same thing. Same
Yeah,
thing.
same
A
thing.
couple of years old, called older. It's a prototype.
I'm not sure if it's just double density DD. I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm not familiar enough with it to know.
Oh, Retrotech, he says he apologizes. Actually, it's a zip drive.
That means it's not stock. That's what Slippy says.
Oh, okay. So somebody actually upgraded the floppy actual mechanism
Something.
inside?
That's what I'm guessing.
I
Maybe
would
the
assume it's
drive
just a
itself,
regular.
because it looks like essentially it's like an enclosure, and then
Yeah.
it has an actual just drive in it. So EDSS is stock, Slippy says. So this is
Okay.
DDSS. So I don't know. So that's pretty cool.
But Adam says he wishes he owned a floppy drive. Well, Adam, I got a good news for you. If you're in your basement, just turn around, and there should be a gigantic wall full of them.
Oh man.
Cool. But so yeah.
You wear floppy dress. Yeah. I have an Amiga power supply.
Oh, there you go.
A new one.
New one, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was a very bad person in my recent interview with CBC. I plugged in my Atari or my Commodore 64 with the original power adapter. So
yeah.
I feel bad.
Well, I mean, the worst case, I guess you would blow some chips because of the over voltage.
Correct.
So
And now, in fairness, I did check the voltage and it was fine. But apparently they're time bombs and can go at any point. So
JC, I have the board. So what I need to do is I need to just buy the parts themselves.
yes, Sean, I know I'm a monster.
Oh, right here, there.
Speaking of monsters, I haven't seen how the movie's going along.
I have an
they're all
entire
turning into
stack.
zombies.
So there will be C64 boards available here shortly, as far as for power supply replacement. Basically, what I'm going to do is I have a case I 3D printed. A second. So I plan on getting the power supply itself built and new cables, obviously, and all that good stuff. But I plan on putting it in an enclosure. And got one, and I 3D printed it for the project. We're gonna put it. I have too much stuff. That's the problem. Too much stuff. Let's see. So let me show some. I can't find the enclosure. I have it 3D printed. I've shown it on the stream before.
Yeah.
But I'll dig it up so that you guys can see it. Sorry, yeah, I realized when I was over there at the shelf looking at stuff, you guys can't hear me very well. But yeah, so the boards are already done. The case is already prototyped, and the print is fine. I just have to order the material list and get some of these put together.
Yep.
So I already have the transformers and things.
Send me a few of them so I can assemble some in Canada. So we don't.
That I got printed up. So
if you send me the list of parts, I will do the list up in DigiKey and then share it with you.
Yes.
So
yeah.
I
can do that. That'd be easier.
Yeah.
That would be so much easier.
So, all right. Well, I guess that brings us to the end of the show. I did have a green with envy, which I can probably do real quick here. I'll just do real quick. So green with envy. Ooh, we're green with envy. And then I'm going to jump to what I'm green with envy. So today, this was posted on Vintage Macintosh page. Paul Williams. He sold this. This is a picture, actually. It's a pretty good picture. He sold this in 2001. He sold this exactly as it is. and I think he regrets selling it, looking back. And I
It
got to
is
say,
nice.
I'd be pretty envious to have this set up right now. Everything that's there is pretty nice. And look at and I guess because it is only 2001, so that iBook would only be probably what, 4, maybe 5 years old at that point. If not, no, it would be even less. It would be 2001. It would probably be maybe a year old. Um, so all that was sold, and it seems as though he regretted it. So I am green with envy to whoever has this. It probably doesn't exist anymore. It's probably been recycled and turned into God knows what, a new Kia Optima or something. Um, but yeah, and you can see he even has the cover to fix the stupid puck mouse, which
Oh
I'm very
yes.
envious about.
Now I have a clamshell,
Yeah,
but it needs a new keyboard. I have a graphite
right,
one. I just got to
right.
find a keyboard for it, which are difficult to find.
There. Scarlett says it still looks like a toilet seat. Yeah, but it's a toilet seat I'd like to have.
True. That's true.
Um, and I had opportunities in the past to buy them, and I always passed them up for the white iBooks because they were better.
Yep.
But looking
Like the
back,
dual USB.
all the white iBooks I have now are just that. They're the same as every other white iBook. They
I've
don't
got
look as
3 on
good
the
as this.
shelf that work. The
I've
one
got
I reference
three
special.
in the computer cabinet behind me has 3 in the
Yeah.
drawers. Um, that's where I keep all my Mac laptops. Yeah, it's. I wish I had one. I wish I took the opportunity to buy one. So I am green with envy over anybody who has a clam book.
Oh, you are true, Martin Max. Some of the plastics do smell.
They
Yucky.
do, yeah.
Yes. 100%. But anyway, we're getting off topic. So
Indeed.
really
So we'll just
appreciate
go with,
everybody.
yeah.
Go ahead.
Go
Sorry.
ahead. I was going to say we'll just go ahead and thank everybody for being here this evening, and we know you have a choice in your vintage Friday night live streams, and we thank you for being here with us. I don't know what happened to Trina, so we'll check in once the APB is put out for her.
True.
Yeah, I I will be not on Dave's stream this weekend, but I will be on the Halloween stream, which is coming up next weekend. So on the 20, what is it, the
7.
27th? No, the 29th, Sunday. Ooh. It'll be a 12-hour stream. Yes, Trina is fine. I'm sure. We're just joking. She
Trina's
usually
always
falls
fine.
asleep. Yeah,
Yep.
she usually just falls asleep, surrounded by many cats. I know it's her favorite thing to do. Um, yeah, so we thank you for joining us. We hope to see you guys next week. Next week I'll actually be traveling, so I may or may not be here. If I am, I might actually be live streaming from a hotel room on the other side of the province.
Hey,
So
well,
yeah, you'll see a hotel room instead of my lovely retro room. Um, so yeah, Trina's fine, just not my type. I'm sure she feels the same, Sophie. I'm sure she feels the same.
indeed.
Anyway, guys, have a fantastic evening, and
There's the
get out
link.
there. Yep, for the after
Yep.
chat. Get out there and promote the hobby, and let's try not to be gatekeepers. Let's be
Right.
good and kind, like Ron says. Just be kind. So
That's right.
thank you, guys,
And
and good
have a
night.
wonderful evening, everyone.